Hi guys, today we're here with realtor Kelly Meadows, who's going to answer you guys' questions that you've been flooding us with as far as purchasing land, seller carryback, and much more. Guys, so we're here with Miss Kelly Meadows, and we really appreciate your time today. She works with Realty One Group as a real estate agent. If you want to just give us a little background about yourself, how long you've been in this industry.
So I'm a certified land sales specialist. I really enjoy selling land. I do sell the occasional home, usually past clients and referrals and things like that. But 20 years, my main focus is land.
Okay. And from your experience, are you seeing a lot of growth in that industry? A lot of people purchasing land these days?
Very much. It goes through phases. When I first got in, it was, 2005, 2006. Everybody was getting a little crazy and speculating. And so then the market crashed and no one was buying land at all, like for many years. And then, things started making a comeback and I was able to really jump back into mostly land. And I kind of thought we were heading towards the end of a cycle. And then COVID hit. And when COVID hit, I thought, okay, it's over. Market's going to drop and all that. But no, my phone started ringing because of people that wanted space. They wanted at least an acre or 5 acres. They wanted just to even know that they had a place to go, even if they weren't going to go move out there right then. My phone rang like crazy for those 1 to 5 acre parcels. Right. And it's stayed pretty steady. The beginning of this year was a little slow. There's a lot of market influencing going on. Definitely. But, for the most part, it stays pretty steady. There's usually a good amount of people that know that land is a good investment.
Of course. So the biggest question that we're running into is folks asking, how do I even purchase land? Where do I start? Where do I need to look? What things should I be looking for?
So when you're first getting started, you're just kind of curious. The best website that I would go to is landwatch.com. They are also owned by homes.com, or homes.com owns them. And homes.com now also has a really good, not only do they show the land listings, but they'll show you stuff about the surrounding area and that kind of thing. So you can look on those type of sites and just get a feel for an area. But of course, I highly recommend contacting an agent, because if you have to call each agent separately, it's taking up a lot of your time. You have to educate each agent on what you're looking for, that kind of thing. So once you're pretty serious and or even if you have questions that you can't answer or get answered online, to call an agent. Right. And, especially a land sales specialist, not just any agent that maybe doesn't know a lot about land. Because it's good to be able to know where your corners are. And even if you don't have a survey, you don't necessarily need a survey right at that minute, but just to know this is the general area of each corner, and then later if you're going to put up a wall or spend money on, you need to know where those corners are, then you would, be more likely to get a survey.
As far as pricing, so sometimes you're looking on the websites and you see maybe an acre for $70,000 and then you see an acre for $5,000. What are the major differences in the price points? What makes one $70,000 and what makes one $5,000?
Well, sometimes it's just a stubborn seller, but usually you want to look into what it has as far as utilities, because people don't really realize sometimes that a well is going to cost some money to put in. So if you can buy a property that already has a well, or maybe has a shared well, you're going to pay a little bit more for that, but usually you're going to pay much less than if you end up doing it yourself. So it just kind of depends on, how far the utilities are, if it's in the floodplain, which, I always tell people, floodplain is not a bad thing. But you should pay less for it than the property down the street that's not in the floodplain, because you will have extra expenses with your grading and drainage survey. You might have to do a little bit of dirt work, raising your foundation up a little bit. So, I always try to explain, because people are often, they don't know what they don't know. So they go, floodplain, no way. Like, well, hold up, take a second and, think about it. Because if you're going to pull an RV out there for a while, or, do some alternative construction. It's not the worst thing.
Right, that's true. Right. So most folks that are looking to purchase land, they have a concern about credit. There are some folks, that have low credit, and they're just wondering what options do they have as far as purchasing land. So what would you suggest?
Well, if they use seller financing, if the seller is offering seller financing, they don't have to worry about their credit.
Mm-hmm.
Most sellers aren't going to ask for a credit check or anything like that. I've had a few that have. It just depends on their situation. But usually they don't, because your down payment is going to be usually a minimum of 20% down. So there's some skin in the game that the buyer is going to have, so the seller can feel confident that the buyer is going to continue to pay.
Okay. And then just to tie it all together. So I'm someone out here looking on land.com. I found my piece of land. Where do I go next? How does that process look for me?
Well, if you found the land before you called me, then you call me. And so what we'll do is, I'll explain the whole process to you, of course. A lot of my buyers are out of state, or they, we never meet each other, so we can do it on the phone, or we can come into the office and go over everything here in person. But so we write the offer, we send it over to the seller, and then the seller might counter, or they might accept the offer. Rarely do they reject straight up. Usually we'll encourage a counter offer. And then once we have an accepted contract, that's when you need to have your earnest money ready to go. So then the title company is going to open escrow, you're going to deposit your earnest money, and then you're going to have that inspection period. So that is when your earnest money is still refundable. I always recommend go back out to the property a couple times, go at night, go during the week, maybe you're near a dairy that the wind's blowing this way today. There's a lot of things to consider. Walk the property looking for, holes that are out there. Just anything that you didn't notice before. If you're going to put in a well, or if you're going to check on the cost of hauled water, you're going to do those things. If you're looking to put in power, you're going to call the, APS or whichever power company. They do usually take a little while to get back to you, though. So you need to kind of be doing that a little bit quicker, so you have an idea of what that is. Those are your main things. If you're going to do a septic tank, a perk test, you're going to want to do a perk test. I will say a lot of my clients are just speculating. They're not actually going to move out there, or they're going to be off the grid. So they don't really care about those things. And you have to keep in mind when you write your offer, if you ask for a 10-day inspection period, you can be a little harder on your offer price or your other terms, because most sellers do not want to keep their property off the market for 30 days. But if you're going to do those inspections, you might need that time. So then you need to ask for it. Once the inspection period's over, that's when your earnest money is non-refundable. So you're either moving forward or you're not. And then the title company will prepare your note, your deed of trust, all of that if you're doing seller financing. And once that's ready, usually the seller's happy to close early if you are. So once that's ready, there's nothing really keeping you from getting your signing appointment, which they do mobile notaries, they do online. There's a lot of ways to make it easy for the buyer. And then you close escrow and the property's yours.
Awesome. And if you could suggest any areas right now, what do you think the best areas to look for? Maybe people that just want to live off grid, or folks that just want to acquire land and maybe build later?
Well, you know about Tonopah. Tonopah is definitely, but Tonopah is huge. When you say Tonopah, you could be talking about 339th Avenue, or you could be talking about 547th Avenue. So it's huge. I would say, so the further out you go, less people bothering you, so that you can kind of do what you want to do. You can buy a bigger parcel for the same price as you could buy a smaller parcel if you're closer in. But of course, then you're going to have less chance of utilities being further out. I also like Whitman. Whitman has a subdivision called Whispering Ranch. And that one you can still buy 5 acres for $30,000-$40,000.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And that is sort of it's a subdivision, but it's kind of unfinished, still dirt roads, very few utilities. But that has a lot of opportunity. It's sort of, there's Tonopah here, and then there's Whispering Ranch and Whitman here, and all in between there up like Sun Valley Parkway, there's a master plan community coming. So even if you decide you don't want to live off grid forever, it's not a bad investment, you know, because of the progress that's coming out that way.
Yes.
So that's pretty exciting that you can enjoy that lifestyle for as long as you want, and then if you decide, you know, I really don't want to do that, by that time there may be more infrastructure, more businesses and things coming out that way.
For sure. If you guys enjoyed the contents of this previous video, you should seriously consider joining our membership, where we'll cover these topics exclusively. We look to have more interviews with the professionals, folks that can help you and guide you through every process, every step it takes to build your dream off-grid alternative lifestyle, whatever you envision that as. We plan to create a network of people and get them all in one spot where we can answer all those questions for you. So please consider subscribing to that membership program. Thank you, guys.